Yeah. Welcome to Parshas Vaeira. Parsha starts off that Rashi explained to us that Hashem is responding to what Moshe Rabbeinu said at the end of last week's Parsha. And in Ani Hashem is Merum is that everything has a cheshbon, that Nemo Sham Schar Tov. Hashem talks about his Nemonis. We know Ani Hashem, spoken about this many times, the Shem Ani is the sphere of Malchus. And Ani has to do with the Shem of Aleph Daled. The Aleph Daled has an Ani Daled. Right? And Ani is Big Machi Eli, has been spoken many times, has to Tamet Malchus. But Ani Hashem is a bechin of Nemon L'Shalim Schar, because Malchus, the sphere of Malchus, is where everything comes to the Maisa. Everything above in the Ilamis Al-Yainim all has all sorts of hashpahs and iris and interactions. And when things come to the Maisa in Ilam Hazeh, that is the bechin of Ani Hashem. So what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe Rabbeinu is that we're coming to the Maisa, and everything is ultimately going to come with Nemonis, and the tzaddikim are going to get their schar, and the Rishon are going to get their punishment. He continues to explain, and the Shem Shmuel understands this as being a taich part of the teretz. I mean, the Pashas Ani Hashem is the whole answer. Don't worry, I'm Neman, trust in me. Shem Shmuel understands the next pasuk is also a chelik of the teretz. Ve'er al Avram al Yitzchak al Yaakov bekel shakai. Shmi Hashem le'nidati lehem. He says that I revealed myself to the Avos, Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, b'shem kel shakai. However, Shmi Hashem le'nidati lehem. However, the Shem Hashem Shev Kevavki Avaya I did not reveal to them. I was not known with them with the Shem of Havaya, the name of Kel Shakai. The Avos have a shaychus to Kel Shakai. And Moshe Rabbeinu now, with his Hanhaga, is going to bring Klal Yisrael to a new madrega of Shmi Hashem, which ultimately is going to bring about the ultimate Geula. Interestingly enough, it's clear from here, is that Moshe Rabbeinu is a hemshech of the Avodah of the Avos. He's like the next leg of the Avos. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are the preparatory stages, and these preparatory stages are done with B'Shem Kel Shakai. And Moshe Rabbeinu is going to take it to the next step. So the Shem Shmuel wants to explain over here what is Nitman over here in the pasuk of this Ve'er la'avis b'kel shakai Shmi Hashem le'nidati. How is this a teretz to the kash of Lama Ari Yisrael Mazeh? Just to be makdim, just interesting remez is Moshe Rabbeinu is a hemshich of Kel Shakai. Kel Shakai is the madrega of the Avos. Moshe Rabbeinu is the next madrega, which is going to be Shmi Hashem le'nidati, which ani neidati lecha to Moshe Rabbeinu. Kel Shakai is begamatria Moshe, because Moshe is kailo all the madregas l'chayra of Kel Shakai, and he's going now to he's kailo all these madregas of Kel Shakai. He's going to take it to the next level. Maybe just be makdim just before we say the Shem Shmuel's word. Say over just something said over from the Megal Amukas today on the Shem Shakai that has to do with the Avos. He says that Shakai has to do with the Avos, and Shakai is three letters connected to Avos. The Shin is connected Yaakov, the Dal is connected Yitzchak, and the Yud is connected Avram. Okay, so it goes backwards, right? Yaakov, Yitzchak, Avram. And he just says an interesting remosum on this. We find by Yaakov Avinu, what does he have to do with Shin? Shin is ultimately three vavin, right? It has to do with threes. And he says Yaakov Avinu is he's on the Kisei HaKavod. His the Muslim on the Kisei HaKavod Shemayla, right? We know that by the Sul Mutav Arz, Resh Megiah Shemayim, Malach Elikim Olam Yarden Bar, they're going up to the Kisei HaKavod, and they saw Yaakov up there. They went down. They see Yaakov sleeping over here down in Eretz HaTachton, and they went back and forth trying to figure out how could this person be in two places at the same time. Yaakov Avinu his tzir is chakok out on the Kisei HaKavod. Azov in the Kisei HaKavod, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Ba'al HaKisei HaKadosh Baruch Hu is on the kisei. Underneath the kisei, there are 4 chayos, right? On each side of the kisei, there are 4 chayos, and each chaya is comprised of three of the chayos, meaning because there's Adam, and then there's Shar, Nesher, and Aryeh. And each side has a Shar, Nesher, Aryeh. Okay, so on each side of the kisei, there's three of the chayos. And on each side, so there is one of them that is more shaylet. And so he says, so that is the bechin of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu is the Musa Kisei. He's Yoshev ala Kisei, but he has on each side he has a shin that holds up his Kisei lamata. Meaning Azavi lamala, there's 3 on each side. Yaakov Avinu lamata has connected the ice shin, which kilo is how Yaakov mirrors the Kisei HaKavod. He says this is why Yaakov Avinu has 12 shvatim, and we know the 12 shvatim their formation in the midbar is four degalim. Each degel around the Mishkan has 3 shvatim, which is the Musa Kisei, and this is Yaakov's shvatim are the Musa Chayis underneath the Kisei. So he says that. That's why Yaakov is connected shin, because Yaakov and his 12 shatim is the mus shin on all 4 sides. Dal is Raim is on Yitzchak. Yitzchak is the pasuk in Shir Hashem refers to Yitzchak as Dalas Roshech Kargamam. The Medrash tells us that Yitzchak lowered his head, right, to his pashat savar l'shchita, and that is the inyan of Dalas Roshech. He says, interestingly enough, apparently that the eifin of that keder would have been mimul arpoi b'mokim keshat tefillin. We have a dalet in the keshat tefillin that's connected. Yitzchak, that the mimul arpa was where it would have been done. He says that's mokim shekoshen limalika. And he says there's many remasim. This is the Megal Amuk is quoting from a sefer called Saidi Razia that says that dalet has to do with Yitzchak. Yaakov is Avram. Is a yud, which is the yud which is the yud of the of Shakai, which all these are connected. We have in our tefillin. We have a shon on the sharash. We have a dalet on the kasher, which is connected the ayif, which we just says connected Yitzchak. And Yaakov is the bechina of the yud of Shem Shakai. Why? Avram is the yud of Shem Shakai. Why? Because he was nisnas of yud nisyonis. So yud is Avram yud nisyonis. What is yud nisyonis? Yud mamarais. And this is connected the yud that is samach tefillin shayad. So he says, interestingly enough, Yaakov is connected to tefillin shayad. Avram is connected to tefillin shayad. Tefillin shayad is echad, like the pasuk tells us, echad hayavram. Masha enkin is tefillin sharash, which has on it the shin is connected Yaakov. Yaakov has 12 shvatim around him, 3 on each side. And he has made up of 4 machanais. Male tefillin sharash has 4 batim, right, which is connected to 4 machanais, and on each side of the tefillin sharash, you have 12 spheres all around, 3 on each side. So you have 3 spheres on each side of the 4 batim, which mamish corresponds to the machanos of Yisrael. You have 4 machanais with 3 shvatim connected to the 3 spheres on each side. Okay, so he says there's a kavana when a person puts on his tefillin. He puts on his tefillin, he's building up. He says this is the reason for the order of putting on tefillin shayad before the tefillin sharash. You put on the tefillin shayad as Avram, you build up from the obvious to Avram, you put on the shayad, the yud, the other tefillin. You put on the sharash, your kavanah is to put on the dal first, then you put on the bias. And either chisa, when you remove it, it's shakai the opposite way. Yaakov, Yitzchak to Avram. Just interesting remozim in the same shaka that they connected the obvious.
Interesting, you put Harav on the left side.
Harav connected the lave.
No, I'm saying in terms of chesed, you put it on the right side.
But you kosher it with your right hand. That is in the Indian of tefillin is mamish that is pshat, that the right hand is chesed and the skaber on is kosher. Is kosher the left hand. So it's mamish between us. It's mamish opposite.
Right.
Yaakov always has to be over small. I mean, Av must be over small. My head's not working. Thank you. I heard trying to say. Those that are Muslim. Just b'derech pshat, however, right? What do the avos have to do with kel shakai? Right, the avos are preparatory stages for Klal Yisrael. Why are Avos called Avos, right? Ein Karnat Avos El Shleisha. Because the union of Avos is that everything a ben does is Mikoach Av, right? It's Benah Kar Davua. That means an Av has the ability of making a Metzias, and that Metzias, a ben can now thrive in that Metzias. For instance, a father builds a bias. When a son moves into his father's house, and now you see the bechin of a ben, he's living in his father's house. So an Av is preparatory stage. They set the groundwork, and they make the ability for a ben to thrive in that groundwork. That's the relationship of Av and Bar. What it means, Ein Karl always El Shleisha. You have to know why. We're going to have to end up with a kasha why Moshe is not an Av. But when you say Ein Karl Avos El Shleisha, that means the Avos set up the world that Klal Yisrael can now do avodah fully, and no one else has to do anything else. Everything else is being built on the backs of the Avos. Okay, the lashon of Av is lashon of Iba Shal Ilan, right? The trunk of a tree is called the Iba of the Ilan because everything comes out of that. There's no such thing as you're not going to have anything. Once you have a trunk, everything after that is going to be from that trunk. If you want to make another tree, you want to make another island, you can make another island. But the Avos are literally everything is built on them, and they made it shaykh for Klal Yisrael to do avodah. What is the shame? What is the avodah of the Avos? Avos have to do is they have to take an olam hazeh, which is a place which is totally void of shechina, a place which has no shaykhs to do avodah Hashem. Right? It was mali kfira. There wasn't an ounce of kvod shemayim in this world before Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov came. And they made the world a place. Now we could do avodah, right? They brought enough shechina down to the world, where they revealed enough kedusha in the world, in the void of the world. Now there was a is it like a foot what's it called a kedei achiza, what
foundation.
Stick your foot into something to lift yourself up. What's it called a foot?
Footstool.
Okay. Whatever it was, they prepared. Olam Hazeh is now primed for avodah. Okay, that's what Avos did. Meaning there was a disconnect. Olam Hazeh was void. Shemayim was malay kvod Hashem, and there was a total disconnect. What did the Avos have to do? The Avos have to make a connection, right? That Olam Hazeh now has in it a connection to do avodas Hashem. The Shem Kel Shakai is right. The Shem of Shakai is Shem of Shem HaYisod, right? The Shakai is the Shem that's mechaber. Okay, we spoke about Shakai many times in the past. The Shem Shakai is what's known as Bechin of Yosef, we'll say, or it's Bechin of the Vav HaMechaber, Vav HaChibur. So the Avos, their avodah is to make a chibur, right? And Mela, that's Kel Shakai. After they make the chibur, Klal Yisrael's job is now to totally make the world shine with Kedushas Hashem. They make the chibur. It's our job to follow through. Okay, that would be in pshat in Kel Shakai. The Shem Shmuel's Yarseh was this week. So he says something just along these lines, but he says as follows. He brings down a medrash. The medrash says there were 7 tzaddikim from Avram ad Moshe. Okay, you have to know exactly who they're counting in between, but it's Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Levi, Kas, Amram, Moshe. Okay, those are the Zion tzaddikim from 7 days me'Avram ad Moshe. Shekol echad hayridus hashchina mirakir l'rakir ad Moshe Rabbeinu olav v'shalom shayirida la'aretz. That's what the lashon I mentioned is. This in Moshe Rabbeinu hayirida la'aretz. Now we said that was where he read la'aretz, right? So he explains that if you have 6 steps till Moshe Rabbeinu, that means the 6 steps of the Avos up to Moshe Rabbeinu is bechin of 6 days of the week, and Moshe Rabbeinu is a bechin of Shabbos. He says the avodah of the Avos is similar to the avodah of the Sheish Yemei HaMaisa. What is Sheish Yemei HaMaisa? Sheish Yemei HaMaisa is that there's teva. The world is full of teva, full of chayshach, full of miniyas, and you sit and bang your head against the wall, right, the whole week, running into brick walls, going into the chayshach, and just doing your best, right, to somehow in the teva of Sheish Yemei Maisa, you're trying to bring or lehaiti yikar mizaylel. You could look into make tikkunim, right? And this is what the avoid of the Abbas is. The Abbas again, they were up against a void, right? The world was void. The world was chayshech, and they were mahalchim b'chayshech. They were bechina. These 6 generations were bechina of Sheish Yemei Maisa, and what they were doing is they were literally taking teva and transforming it from a place that's void, right, to a place that it's shaykh avodas Hashem. They're bringing or into the teva. He says Moshe Rabbeinu's avodah is a totally different avodah. Moshe Rabbeinu's avodah is the kind of Shabbos Kodesh. What's Shabbos Kodesh? Shabbos Kodesh is kol malachtacha asuya. There's no banging your head in Shabbos Kodesh, right? You're not running up against chayshach. You're not running up against brick walls. Shabbos Kodesh kol malachtacha asuya. What does that mean? You don't have to bring or into chayshach. The whole world has an aliyah solamis. The whole world of Shabbos Kodesh lifts up from Olam Hazeh and connects up to Olam Halayim. That's what's described as from Mekdesh Shabbos. Shabbos is aliyah solamis. He says so. Moshe Rabbeinu is doing a different avodah. He's bringing a tahira into the world of kilu, just like totally obliterating, blinding out all the manias in the world. And this is the avodah of Moshe Rabbeinu. So Meli says this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is answering Moshe Rabbeinu at this point. He says Vaeira la'avos b'kel shakai, right? Kel shakai is like I explained to you. Kel shakai is drilling into Olam Hazeh, fighting the teva, right? That's making a chibur, right? There's minias in the chibur. You have a ground, and you have to in the muscle, and you have to break through it, and you have to put the yos, right? What is shakai? Shakai is we described the meaning of shakai as the yosed. It's like putting a stake into the ground. You have to bang it in, right? You have minias of offer, and you have to make a connection. You got to dig into the foundation. You have to go put Yosef into the bar, right? You have to do all sorts of literally going into the blotter, right? In order to make this connection. He says, that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, until now, the avodah was connected manias. You are going to a new madrega now. You're taking Klal Yisrael to a new madrega, that the Klal Yisrael can have a bechin of Shabbos Kodesh. That's going to be kol malachta asuya. You're going to bring such a tremendous kedusha where there's not going to be any manias. So he says like this: you asked me that until now the avodah of the Yidden, it was bad, but it was manageable. Moshe Rabbeinu steps onto the scene, and all of a sudden it's totally over the top, right? They loaded up so much there was no. They couldn't even think anymore about anything else other than the avodah. So he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is answering Moshe Rabbeinu like this: it's zelu mazeh. He says, Kol Zman, the Yidden were working mikayach. There being the Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and Levi Kasa and Amram, which is a bechin of Kel Shakai. So then, Zelu Mazeh, they don't have to go so weit in their avodah. I mean, their avodah is ultimately a tikkun in order to be mekabel the Malchus Shemaim Zelu Mazeh. So in as much as that they're going, the Sheish Yemei Maisa is a kabal Zol Malchus Shemaim connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with all sorts of miniyas, right? That means that their shibud that's lumas that is going to also be watered down. The shibud is going to have miniyas to the shibud, which means they have a life of their own. So we're going to the next level now. Klal Yisrael has to be brought to Madrega, where they're going to be a bechin of Shabbos Kodesh, where there's zero miniyas. It's going to be total kedusha. The shibud that is going to be misak in that's going to be going to cleanse. It's going to be memar Klal Yisrael to be zoichet to a total connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to be a shibud to the umpteenth degree. So mainly this is the kasha that Moshe Rabbeinu is asking me. It gets worse when I come onto the scene. It's supposed to be getting better. He says getting better has to get worse first, because to reach the madrega of total ha'ara of kedusha, which is Moshe Rabbeinu b'chiddush Shabbos Kodesh, they need to be memark in ganzen that the avodah that they have has no room of any miniyas. Mele is going to be mezaka them to a kedusha Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah. I'm just let's just read his lashon over here. והאמיר כזה הוא במה שהכבידו עליהם העבודה כל כך עד שלא נשאר בהם שום בחינה עצמס, There's no room for anything else in their head. They are totally obliterated by the malacha. You're going to be so removed from Olam Hazeh, Teva is going to be gone. You're not going to have any hirum against Avodah. That when they're working from the Bechin of Avos, Kel Shakai, so the mirik doesn't have to be so great. But you, Moshe Rabbeinu, we're taking them to the next Madrega, and Memela, in order to have a mirik, to have a cleansing that's going to cleanse them, in order to be Zaycha, this Madrega, we have to take them to the next step in the Shiva. Just for your eyes, the kids are just an interesting thing I noticed as I was quickly scrambling before the shir. Says talks about Dal L'Shon Shagula and Dal L'Shon Shagula are connected to Dal Galuyos. He says that Dal Galuyos there are Dal Galuyos. You have 4 nations, right? You have Mitzrayim, Bavel, Madai, and Yavan, and Edom. And he says, but not only do we have collective galuyos, every person has his own private galus. And the private galus that every person would describe is also with 4 moros, right? When you talk about a person who has mora, right? Mora is, you could call it the little types of maybe bile. But people have four bad emotions, right? Mora is described as sour emotions. And there are 4 different moros that Chazal talk about, and they're described by colors. One of them is the most famous one, which we're going to get to. But there's Mora Levana, Aduma, Yeroika, and Shchayra. Everybody's heard of Mora Shchayra, right? What's Mora Shchayra? Mora Shchayra is depression, right? Lack of simcha. He says when you align the 4 galuyos with the 4 moras, he says, Galus Adam is connected Mora Shchayra. He says, and he says that Mara Shchayra is Kashmi Kulon. That's what Galus Adam is Kashmi Shloshtam. But the Paldik is Achis. Everyone can tell you there's no greater depression society than the United States or whatever. Galus Adam. It's just a fact, right? And it literally corresponds to the Mara Shchayra of the Galus HaNefesh, right? There's the Galus HaGuf, which is the Shibud HaGuf of the Galus to the nation, to Edom. But then how that trickles down to the Galus HaNefesh, and the Galus HaNefesh that Klal Yisrael has in the land where people live with the pursuit of
life,
liberty, and what?
The pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness.
Pursuit of happiness. There you go. The pursuit of happiness.
That too.
The pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Who would imagine when everyone is so motivated to that, and everything is being the shame, these wonderful pursuits, and where do people find themselves? They find themselves in the greatest matzav of lack of simcha, in the middle in the galus and nefesh of Mara Shchayra. Taka maybe just be zeicha taka to the Bez Hashem Tzav Shabbos Kodesh already be zeicha to have the kavaldik simcha v'aliyas elamis. We'll leave the teva behind, and will inspire us for the coming week, Bez Hashem, when we have to bang our heads against the teva. We'll be inspired of knowing that we have the kedusha of the Shabbos before, and the Shabbos that's going to be coming to greet us again. And with this, we'll have a wonderful week, Bez Hashem.